Dreamville just released their Creed 3 soundtrack, and I feel like this one's pretty good. Probably is up there in some of the best soundtracks of all time. I feel like there's just a lot of really solid tracks here throughout the entire thing, and it really just shows how deep Dreamville is as a record label and just how much talent they have on this entire roster because there are just a ton of bangers here, and I feel like, while, of course the soundtrack isn't really a cohesive album at all because you're all trying to make the movie sound, I feel like there is kind of a similar cohesive sound between all these artists, and there's just so many different artists that come in with really solid verses or really solid hooks or whatever, and it all just contributes to like a really, really great soundtrack. Maybe one of the best soundtracks of all time. Definitely one of the best soundtracks in recent times, up there with the Black Panther soundtrack. But let's just go one by one, starting off with Culture. I really like the chill production on this one. I like the flow from the second artist on the song. Don't actually know who that is. The chorus, I feel like, kind of fits the song, and everyone else just sounds great on the song. And I feel like the production with the atmospheric sound in the background and the piano's atmospheric sound works well. Each of the artists has a really distinct style that I feel like I haven't really heard, and I'm, really willing to listen to each of their projects. My Boy, a lot more hard-hitting production with the hard-hitting drums, kind of sounding very similar to other JID songs. And JID sounds pretty solid, but nothing really amazing, just a kind of normal performance from him. I really like the choir sample they have on this song, and Lute sounds great on this song. And while his flow definitely isn't like amazing on this song, he kind of just fits perfectly on these hard-hitting drums. Anthem, I like the expensive and grand sounding production and the hard-hitting bass. The Big Sean verse is mixed a little weird, but still sounds pretty solid, especially as the production sounds great. ESCG actually sounds really good compared to what I've heard from him so far, and I think he sounds like. And the gritty production really just suits his voice and gives me kind of a Fabio Foreign vibe, which really works, or Pop Smoke. Adonis interlude, I love the operatic style that kind of builds on this song, as it really starts with this opera sounding like strings and stuff. And then while J. Cole sounds a little bit like lyrical, spiritual, that kind of at the beginning of the interlude, he sounds kind of great as the song goes on. And I just think the insanely grand production, hard-hitting bass just really makes this song a pretty solid interlude. I actually haven't seen the movie, but I'm hoping this goes in, when he's coming into the ring, doing some crazy stuff. Greater by Ari Leno is next, and I feel like Ari Leno's voice sounds so good on this lush and lavish production, and the strings just suit her voice. This kind of sounds like a really good old soul song with Ari Leno's voice really just sounding amazing. I feel like her voice just doing her own thing with the amazing production, the trumpets and everything on this song just sounds amazing. It kind of just sounds a little bit more like an interlude than a song, which is, kind of a weird takeaway, but I don't know, it takes away a little bit from the song. Then we go to Agogoro. I like the production. I really like Arya Starr's voice because it kind of fits the Nigerian sounding beat. I know she's a Nigerian artist. Her voice sounds very similar to Thames, and it works well on the song. The change to Boz is a little weird as their voices are so different, and he sounds pretty good, but nothing amazing. Just face it, I really like the bass on this song, and Blast sounds amazing with his flow kind of perfectly fitting the beat, especially on the chorus, which just sounds amazing together. The bass in the background kind of just perfectly fits Blast Deep's voice. Headhunters, I really like the funky beat, and it fits Westside Boogie's voice so well, and he fits the beat well as he kind of just flows right over it. Whoever's on the chorus also sounds great, and I feel like their chorus kind of just fits the sound of the song great. Jack, I really like this interesting beat, and I feel like Earth Gang sounds pretty solid, kind of just flowing over the song. I do think the repetition of Jack is a little weird, and I don't like it that much. The song overall is pretty good. I just don't like how many times they repeat the same thing over and over again, as they say the same Jack line like 20 or more times in this song. Hate Me Now, I like the slow building strings on this song. Mariba's vocals really work for the song, as I feel like the female vocals really fit this lush production on this song. Aaron Ray and Omen both put in solid verses, but I feel like the flow that Mariba has on the chorus is just amazing. The song carries on for a little bit too long, and it could have been a lot better in my opinion if they just cut a little bit out. Talk to Me, Ari Leno's vocals work great on this song as well, and I like the bass line on the song. I actually like the two men's verses, but I feel like Ari Leno kind of carries the song with her chorus, and the soft hitting beat works just to fit Ari's voice. Layup, Sir's vocals actually sound great on this very lush sounding production. especially with the chorus or the choir on his part backing up his vocals. Sid is mixed in a little weirdly as her vocals seem a little bit more atmospheric instead of actually in front of you. I really like when they do the duet, and Sir's vocals just sound absolutely immaculate on this song. Along the way, don't really like Murray's voice at all, and I feel like it just sounds like he's mixed in weirdly, and his flow just doesn't work for me. His flow does get pretty solid as the song goes on, but the beat is really generic, and I don't really like how his inflection sounds throughout the majority of the song. In the room, the beat is really interesting. I feel like it wouldn't work for a lot of people, but JID sounds really good on this song. BJ the Chicago Kid also sounds very solid on the chorus, especially with the choir and how they make his voice kind of have a really cool effect that kind of surrounds the listener while you're listening to the song. Shadows is a pretty cool song. I actually really like Kalani's vocals on this song as they kind of also surround the listener, but I don't really like they have like a repeat voice in the background when they just repeat her lyrics, and that does not sound good in my opinion. I wish they just took that off. The soft production really works with everything, keeping the song together, and it keeps the atmospheric sound that kind of builds up around the listener. Burn Bridges, I like the toned down production, the solid bass on this song. Everyone comes in with a solid flow and rhythm, but I don't really think this is a standout track as I feel like the beat is a little bit too toned down. It doesn't do enough to wow me. Whoever's on the third verse of the song actually flows great and puts in one of the best verses on the album. Heavy is the Head. This song is a really weird switch to a very dramatic sounding beat with a piano led beat and Baby Rose playing in a very interesting vocal performance. I feel like it works well, but if it's like actually used in the movie, I think it could have been replaced by like an older song in the movie. But I understand what they were doing. They were trying to like keep their money down and lower the budget. But I get it. It just sounds a little bit too over dramatic for the soundtrack and is a little bit of a weird switch. Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I love the Nigerian sounding beat, but the song is a little bit repetitive with the chorus part. I do really like Boss on the song. I think he sounds great, and just having that kind of Nigerian upbeat Afro, I think it's called Afro beat vibe or whatever. That sounds pretty great, and I really like how the song sounds on it. Either way, though, this is a really solid soundtrack, and I feel like it's probably, one of the better ones I've heard in recent years. To me, it doesn't really live up to the Black Panther soundtrack, but it's definitely up there, and I feel like it's great to see that Dreamville is showing off all its talent here. There's so many great artists on this album, and I just feel like a lot of them put in really solid performances to make this Creed 3 soundtrack sound great. So, I definitely would suggest listening to at least the songs from the artists you like. I mean, this isn't really a cohesive album, to say the least, but I think it is a pretty solid soundtrack. So I'm going to give the Creed 3 soundtrack by Dreamville a 7 out of 10. It's a pretty good soundtrack / album, but it's nothing super amazing, and it just has a ton of good songs on it.